Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the House of Kayfabe. I am Derek Jones, and as you see, I'm all by myself, which can mean only one thing. I'm the only one that stayed up to review Dynamite, and that's what I'm here to do for you. I'm here to review AEW Dynamite, and it was a great show tonight. A lot of different things going on tonight than what we'd normally see on AEW, but a lot of really cool, interesting things that we naturally would see on AEW, like professional wrestling. Didn't get a lot of pro wrestling from the other guys this week, but tonight with AEW, we got professional wrestling, and we had some professionals show up and want to call out the amateurs. We had some new faces, somewhat familiar but new to AEW, show up tonight. We had title matches. We had title matches on AEW Dynamite tonight, and not just little one-off matches, real competitive professional wrestling matches tonight on AEW Dynamite. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about, is wrestling. So we start off the show. Juice Robinson's already in the ring. Sorry for that. Ricky Starks, my guy, coming out to the ring, and I'm sitting here thinking this is going to be a banger of a match. Ricky Starks, Juice Robinson. But then we get the debut, and I'm going to call it a debut. I know he's been on there once before, but a true blue debut of the Switchblade Jay White, showing a little unison with Juice Robinson. You know, little familiar gestures of sort. I don't know if they're going to call them the Bullet Club. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but we know that real shooters fire away. So we do have Jay White, which is very interesting because a lot of people thought Jay White was going to end up going to the WWE. And even myself, I thought Jay White was going to go to the WWE. And I feel like it's probably the direction he should have went. Please don't get mad at me for that. There's a lot of good matchups in the WWE for Jay White. If they would decide to come to AEW later, I'd be fine with that. I don't care what company they do it for, but I want to see some of those matchups happen. I like Jay White. I have no issues with Jay White. You know, he comes from the club. I'm big on the club. I just don't think mid card AEW is the same as mid card WWE, and nothing personal to Jay White, but I think that's where you're going to end up, is mid card in both companies. But I think the match stylings in the mid card and WWE would be much more beneficial to you and much more entertaining to the fans. But maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be one of the best things AEW has done for a long time. Who knows? But we got Jay White. No match ever took place. I was really looking forward to seeing Ricky Starks versus Juice Robertson. Kind of curious as to what that pairing would end up being like. Both very phenomenal, talented individuals. But let's face it, Ricky Starks is the man. And it's just what it would have been. In case you don't know, I'm a big Ricky Starks guy. Now you know. So after the Jay White, you know, everybody exits. We have Chris Jericho backstage talking about Adam Cole and talking about respect, how he disrespected Daniel Garcia. He disrespected him with his ticker tape parade and left him laying in the middle of the ring. And then up walks Keith Lee, a very wise, aged Keith Lee, starting to let that age show a little bit, leaving the hair to be a little more natural, graying it out. Father Time, it's a good look on him. I'm not going to say it's not. Makes him look very wise. Wants to talk to Chris Jericho about a little bit of respect and challenges him to a match. So next week on Dynamite, we should see Keith Lee versus Chris Jericho. A very interesting pairing, but I'll be excited to see how that goes. And here's the great thing. Right after this, we go, bam, right into more action. We're going into the Trios title match. I'm not a big fan of Trios titles. Not a big fan of multi-man matches. It doesn't do much for me, but the guys that do it best are the champions currently. And, you know, I'm a Young Bucks guy, but Young Bucks and Omega, I don't think they work the trios scene very well. I think obviously they were the trio of AEW. They're the reasons for the trios titles, and that's fine, you know. But the House of Black, they work the trio setup very well. I'm very impressed with these guys. Not just as a team, but as individuals and tag teams and every combination of the sort. The House of Black is very on point with each other, very unified. The look, the swagger, the walk, the talk, everything that they do, it works, and it works together, and it works well. Very impressed with these individuals. I was very impressed with them the first time I ever seen them wrestle. I was impressed with, Aleister Black in WWE and Buddy Murphy in WWE and Brody King in Ring of Honor. I've watched all these guys for quite some time now, and they're very impressive individuals. They're an even more impressive team. I'm very happy they went with them for the trios titles. They had a great match with Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. They're not calling them just the Best Friends now. It's Best Friends and Orange Cassidy. They're trying to separate OC by himself a little bit, which is perfectly fine. He is a singles champion, so they want to keep him apart, away from the team aspect, which is fine, rather than just calling them the Best Friends. The greatest thing about this match was the return of Sue. Sue is Trent's mom, rolling up in the white minivan, dropping the kids off soccer practice, letting them go do their thing. It was great. Got a huge pop from the crowd. Beyond that, very, very competitive match. House of Black pulls it out in the end in very decisive fashion. There was no questioning who was going to win this match. So once we leave the House of Black match, we go straight into a promo in the backstage. You hear him talk about Christian Cage at the announce booth, and then here we have Christian Cage in the back. You see over the shoulder shot walking into a red lighted room, and Luchasaurus walks through looking very menacing, very dominating. I wish that his abilities in the ring would match the presence that he commands and exudes as he walks through that red light, because he looks like someone that is a multi-million-dollar talent. The dinosaur doesn't work for me, guys. It doesn't work for me. I want it to, and now even more than ever, because he's working with Christian Cage. I was a Pete back in the TNA days. Even before that, Edge and Christian was a great tag team. I was a big fan of them there, and I wasn't even a huge fan of Edge at the time. I became a fan of Edge through Christian, through the Brood, through that pairing, that tandem. It took more of Christian for me to be involved with that. But it was a very interesting look for him to walk through that red room. No words were spoken, but I don't think they needed to be. It was very well done, very well executed. I guess we'll see what direction they go next, since they're not going to be targeting on Jungle Boy, since Jungle Boy is inserting himself in the world title picture. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So then we go right back into more action in the ring. We have a match with Riho and Jamie Hayter. Riho, everybody, doesn't carry a lot of notoriety now, and she gets a little bit of a pop when she comes out. But let me tell you what, if you want to see the way the fans really felt about Riho when she first showed up, go watch that first episode from Washington, D.C., Riho versus Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's World Championship. I was there live in attendance. I think we were like 3 rows back on the floor. I've never seen such a reaction for women's wrestling. There were so many people behind Riho in that match, and they wanted her to win. I personally felt it would have been better for the business if she lost, but I understand what they were doing. It was such a good atmosphere for wrestling. I wish we could get back to that for all companies, not just for AEW, but for all companies. We need a good, healthy atmosphere for professional wrestling, where fans can just be fans and not have to worry about the extracurriculars, the drama, the nonsense, the behind the scenes. Let's bring back kayfabe a little bit and really enjoy professional wrestling the way we're supposed to. So Jamie Hayter gets a big win over Riho. A lot of respect shown from Jamie Hayter. The bout at the end, checking on her, making sure everything was good, really turning the table and becoming that poster child babyface that we all don't want her to be, because she's a very good heel. But we want to be able to cheer for her because we appreciate the work that she puts in. She's a great athlete. She's a great professional wrestler, and it's hard to boo her because of that. But she's a very good heel. So personally, I would prefer her to be a heel over a babyface. But either way, she's going to give us the in-ring product that we're looking for. So we're just going to keep going with it. Next, we're going backstage to the Outcast, and I'm going through these very quickly because I want to touch on a segment pretty heavily. So just trying to roll through these as quick as I can. We have the Outcast backstage. We have Ruby Soho, Saraya, and Toni Storm. Immediately after the match, obviously, you know where they're going. They're going straight after the Women's World Champion. They're interim world champion, whatever you want to call her. Who knows if Thunder Rosa is ever going to come back or not? If she does, uh, I hope the company makes the right decision on what they do with her and not just force her back into the forefront of AEW as the women's champion, because these ladies that have been holding down the fort, so to speak, while she's been gone have done a great job. The roster does need a little bit of a shakeup. There's some weak points in the roster for the AEW women's division, but there's some strong contenders in there. We just need to find the right ways to highlight them, the right matchups to have, and really push for a more physical outing from the women's wrestling. I've always said it on this show and other shows I've been a part of. I think the biggest drawback is the crowd, the TV crowd for a women's wrestling match, and it's an auditory thing. I think they should mic the rings. I think it should be echoed through the arena every time a bump is taken, because if you're half the way up the bowl listening, you don't hear the impact of the moves from females, and it's because they're at a disadvantage being so much smaller. Some of them do very well to verbally output, the easiest way to say it without saying it, to kind of help that along a little bit, but not everybody's figured that out. Some of them are just entirely too quiet, so the crowd doesn't get into it. The crowd there in the arena doesn't get into it. The people at home are not going to get into it either, even though they can hear the bumps a little bit better due to the camera audio being so close. But they see the crowd and it's like, man, the crowd's really flat for this match, so maybe it's not as good as I think it is, which is typically not the fact. Usually women's wrestling portrays a lot better on TV because we have that auditory response. We can get a much better feel for it. The next thing we're going to look at is we have the Jericho Appreciation Society on the stage and talking about how they're excited that the Acclaimed is going to join the JAS. The Acclaimed comes out. They have a great rap session from Max Caster. Can't quite figure out which direction they're really going to go, but we all know in the end they're probably not going to join the JAS. They're going to play with them a little bit, manipulate them, and probably lead to a really good match down the road. 2.0 decides they're going to do a little scissor action, and Billy Gunn, no, sir. No, sir. That is his gimmick. Don't be infringing. So Anthony Bowens and Daddy Ass decide to show him how it's done. They got to get their stuff in, I'm sure that they are going to hit a taped match for Rampage or something of the effects. You can't just have them on the show just to scissor and talk a little bit. So we know that the people love the Acclaimed. Everybody loves the Acclaimed. People go to these shows to watch the Acclaimed. So you got to feature them on the show somewhere. You can't have a show without the Acclaimed without good reason. Which is, again, probably why they had a small segment here on Dynamite, and I'm sure they'll have a match on Rampage. We'll see how that goes along. I also know that they're taping some ROH matches, so you'll be able to get online and see what kind of matchups they have for Ring of Honor in the near future. So once the Acclaimed and cut through the commercial break, we come back, and to let everybody know, it is MJF Day, and it's the MJF Day celebration on AEW Dynamite. We have a live band with a conductor playing some very Sinatra-esque music, which leads into MJF coming out and actually singing a Sinatra song. He sings Pennies from Heaven with a live band behind him. Not terrible of a vocalist for that style of music and performance. Obviously, it wouldn't matter if he was good or not, because he was going to do it either way. I realized that MJF in New York, in the Long Island area, he is CM Punk in Chicago. He is Brett in Canada. He can do no wrong in that area. Those people love him. I love the fact that he can be an over-the-top babyface in his hometown and still throw little heel jabs every so often to make sure the crowd is going along with him. He can still be himself, but in a positive way, and not anti the city he's in, and pulling the very great Rick Rude style, you people suck style promos. He's just so good. He's so good at what he does. Absolutely love it. And it, And it's great because even when he gets in the ring to accept the key to the city, he brings out a politician that apparently has a lot of heat with the voters and the people of that city because they were not happy to see him. And I feel like he knew that bringing him in, he could have brought anybody from the city, any representative probably would have done this for him. But there's probably a lot going on there that we don't know about unless you're in that area and you live in the area, you're privy to that information. But you could tell the people were not happy to see this individual. So he gets the key to the city. He's going back up. Then we have Jungle Boy dressed up as one of the people from the band. A little back and forth there until Jungle Boy jumps him. Um, Jungle Boy's getting booed out of the building until Max reverses it on him, and then there's the pop again. Max again, so over in his hometown, and it's so great to see. It's so much fun. That is just such an enjoyable moment for wrestling fans, especially if you live in that city, and for MJF because he's allowed to kind of let the curtain down a little bit and enjoy what he's doing. He doesn't have to be angry and pissed off all the time. And every city that he goes to, he has somewhere he can call home, and the people of his home absolutely love him. So now you have Jungle Boy and MJF getting into it. Out come a group of people to do a pull apart, which we do see Pat Buck. Pat Buck is one of the backstage guys for AEW. He is also becoming an in-ring talent yet again. Currently worked, or not currently, sorry, previously worked for the WWE, currently working for AEW. But if you want to see Pat Buck and you're in or want to come to and visit the Beckley, West Virginia area on June 17th, pretty sure it's June 17th, 16th, 17th, whatever that Saturday is, you can come see Pat Buck live and in action at the ASW All-Star Wrestling Bash in Beckley 3. It's a great show, a loaded cast of misfits coming to you to put on one of the best independent wrestling shows you'll ever be able to see. And you're thinking, yeah, right, whatever. It's just a bunch of nobodies. Well, our main event is Matt Cardona versus Heath in a steel cage for the world title, also featuring Taya Valkyrie, John Morrison, Brian Myers, you name it, they're going to be there, including Pat Buck. So we've got those guys doing the pull apart. Sammy Guevara, music hits, he walks out. You got Jungle Boy on one side, MJF on the other. He looks at both of them, knowing that the three of them plus Darby Allin has got a little bit of a story going right now. Looks down, he sees MJF's belt, he picks it up. It's the perfect positioning for the belt, the perfect time for Sammy to walk out. This is one of the best interactions that I think Sammy has had as a believable competitor to date. When Sammy was first signed by AEW, I was very excited for that. I'm big on Sammy and AAA as the World Cruiserweight Champion for AAA promotions. He got really flat for me. I think he's doing himself an injustice by being with the JAS. I think it shadows him a little bit. I don't think we get. I don't think we get the true competitive nature of Sammy Guevara. And I understand he's got a real heel thing going with Tamello. There's a lot more that kid has to offer than AEW is allowing him. But they don't have a whole lot of true heels at the moment. So I get it. They're letting him do his thing. It's great. Sammy Guevara then has a matchup with a guy named Commander. If you're not familiar with Commander, he is one of the biggest spot artists in the world. He does some very, very impressive acrobatic maneuvers. Even as much as I like the lucha libre style of wrestling and certain things, I think he goes a little over the top. He and guys like Vikingo, and they're going to put themselves in harm's way very early on in their career, and it's probably not going to pay off as much as they want it to. They got to learn to dial it down just a little bit. Less is more sometimes. When you see somebody tightrope walk the ropes and springboard 15 feet in the air after the fact every single night, then it becomes as entertaining as a clothesline. Dial it back just a little bit, a little bit. Either way, Sammy gets a good win, cuts a great promo, says something to the effect of he does something that the champ hasn't done in a long time, and that's wrestle. And he's not wrong. MJF doesn't have a whole lot of matches, less than 10 matches last year total. They're on twice a week, every week for 52 weeks in a year, plus 4 pay-per-views, plus 2 or 3 events, special events or whatever, battle of the belts, this and that. And he wrestled less than 10 times. So, if I'm one of the guys working my butt off day in and day out, then I'm probably thinking the same thing. The dude at the top of the card is never on the card, and there's a problem there. He hasn't earned the right to be known as a special attraction yet. And I understand the idea of the chase for a title. Your world champion doesn't always have to defend the world title every single week, but he's got to be present every week, and he's got to have matches, and he has to have those opportunities for somebody to get that close to beating him, to build the drama of the match coming on later on, even if he's in tag matches or trios matches, or 8-man tags, which is completely unnecessary. But you have 3 other individuals that can take the fall to protect the champion. There's a lot you can do there. But he's not getting any in-ring work whatsoever. So again, Sammy cuts a great promo, very heartfelt, very determined. Hopefully it doesn't make him as mad as the Eddie Kingston promo made Eddie Kingston. And I don't think it will. I think it was the right words to say at the right time. I don't think it was anything that Sammy and MJF are going to feud over later on down the road. I think it was just a very clear cut heel promo. Is Sammy the heel though? Because MJF's a heel, Sammy's a heel. So you have 2 heels going after each other and 2 baby faces. So you have 2 babies and 2 heels, and nobody knows who's going to face who. And in reality, none of the other 3 even halfway deserve title opportunity. Maybe Darby, he's probably got the better work rate at the moment to deserve an opportunity for the world title. But Sammy and Jungle Boy, I don't think they even deserve to be in the title picture. But if they are, Sammy's trying to put his best foot forward and elevate himself a little bit. So I appreciate that fact. Here we go again, guys. Crazy thing. AEW is doing this thing where they have wrestling on the show. It's a short match, understandably, but it's still showcased in the ring of the talent. And it's Hook, another guy from the area, versus All Ego Ethan Page. Hook, the fan favorite pretty much anywhere he goes. Kind of wild to see him wrestle on Dynamite, not Rampage, which is good. He needs some diversity. He was the king of Rampage for quite some time. I think they're slowly integrating him into Dynamite, because one day he's going to be, we have the guys we call the 4 pillars, but we also have the people's champ, which is Hook in reality, because he's probably more over than some of these other guys would ever dream of being. And he's done nothing to get there other than just be impressive. He doesn't talk a lot. He works his butt off in the ring. He's believable. He's a little bit of a smaller guy, which is fine, because the moveset he does, he's still believable. When he hooks somebody for a suplex and executes it, you see the technician side of him. You see the skill set, and you're like, okay, this kid, he's got some shooter boots on. He might be able to do some of this stuff in real life. He's got some technical abilities about him. Possibly could have been a very successful amateur wrestler. Somebody that has studied, different martial arts and things of that nature. He puts, man, he does his own style of in-ring work, and it just works. And I say his own style, and people are like, oh no, he works just like his dad did, but he doesn't. He favors him a little bit with the different throws, but it's his own style, and I appreciate it for what it is. I have no quarrels with Hook whatsoever. I like the guy. Hopeful for a very bright future. I think he's got a work style that is going to translate into longevity. He's not one of these guys that does a bunch of moves he's not going to be able to do in 5 more years. So I think it's going to work out for the best for him. So with the help of Matt Hardy, you got Matt Hardy, the Hardy Party, out there by the ring, doing their shenanigans when you really think that they're kind of getting a good rapport going with Ethan Page and and the firm, but apparently there's some friction going on there because after a little bit of an assist, we'll call it, Hook puts Ethan Page to sleep with a real naked choke, which is, again, the way he does it is very believable. You can tell that he knows how to execute the move properly. Good on him for doing it the right way. So now we go backstage with Nigel McGuinness and Tony Khan. Love seeing Nigel McGuinness in AEW, just like seeing Nigel McGuinness, period. Really, truly wish the man was still working in the ring, because if you want to talk about a talent, that guy was a talent. If you're not familiar with Nigel McGuinness and his work rate, go look up some Nigel McGuinness matches, preferably with guys like Samoa Joe, Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whoever you want to call him. Those guys in Ring of Honor. You want to see Nigel McGuinness versus Kurt Angle in TNA. Like, he Desmond Wolf, in case you get thrown by the search history. Great matches, fantastic. He is a shooter for sure. That guy, he's off the charts good, off the charts. So they're backstage and they're talking about a big announcement that Tony Khan has, and some people are questionable about Tony Khan's big announcements because sometimes they're not so big. This one's pretty big. Not just the announcement itself, but the location in which the announcement will take place. And we're talking AEW going to the UK, AEW All In London. All In, I say. All In is what started all of this. And he kind of led to that a little bit. All In was an independent wrestling promotion that kind of got the wheels in motion that led to AEW's existence. All from a tweet saying that from Dave Meltzer saying that, an independent show and Ring of Honor or whatever couldn't put 10,000 seats or 10,000 fans in an arena. And being one of those fans, we hit just over 11,000. It was a great show. The Sears Center, it's the Now Arena now in Chicago. Cody, the Bucks, Hangman, Kenny, Marty Scurll, the elite at the time, the guys that were referring to themselves as the elite, the Bullet Club. They put on a great independent wrestling show, and it was such a fun time. Great matches, some matches that you'll never see anywhere ever again. Your main event was Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. It was a fantastic event. They're able to use it now because Ring of Honor held the rights for that terminology of All In. Now that Tony Khan owns both, he actually owns all the rights to it, so he can call it AEW All In, which is what some fans, true fans that were there at that show, like, we've waited for that. That's where the Double or Nothing pay-per-view terminology come from, because once you go all in, then you got to go Double or Nothing. It was very historic for wrestling. So they're doing AEW All In London from Wembley Stadium. So if you're not familiar with Wembley Stadium, it's a very large football arena, soccer for some, potential for, I would imagine, up to 90,000 people. And when WWE goes to the UK, they do very well because they don't go very often. So I'm hoping that AEW going to the UK does very well, and I hope they get 90,000 people to show up for this show. Wembley, a very historic arena. Professional wrestling crowds are great over there. They've got ICW in Ireland that runs great shows. They're always doing a lot in that area. You've got Rev Pro that runs over there. They do a lot for the area, but nothing like AEW, nothing like WWE, nothing like New Japan. So when those guys come to your area, they sell tickets. They the UK fans are crazy fans, and they're great for what they are. But man, they buy the tickets. They put butts in seats, and the companies keep coming back and keep coming back. So I hope that's the case this time. So huge announcement from Tony Khan is AEW All In London from Wembley Arena. It's just great for the growth of the company as a whole. So once we come out of that, we go to a commercial, come back from commercial. We have the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Local Enhancement Talent Club. Don't even know who these guys were. probably nobody else does either, other than the people that they brought with them to the show as their plus ones. The Blackpool Combat Club gets a very decisive win, and then they just abuse a couple of these kids for just a little bit longer. Um, the best part that comes out of all this is you have sorry, Brian Danielson with a mic talking about how he loves his family, he loves the Blackpool Combat Club, and he loves professional wrestling, and that they are the only professional wrestlers in the company. Everybody else is amateurs. Brian Danielson, he's such a good heel when he has a mic in his hands. Man, he's such a good talent in the ring, but he's just a slimy little heel, and it's good because you believe that he can back up anything he says because you've seen his work rate, you've seen the history of the matches he's been in, you know his abilities. So when he says something, you know he says it with some conviction because he's not afraid for somebody to walk down to him and say, "No, I don't believe you," and then put them in some form of a submission hold until they say, "Yes, I believe you." Brian Danielson is realism in professional wrestling. I like my wrestling to feel real and look real and make sense. He helps me to achieve that. It's great. Um, so during this time, you have him saying that everybody in the back is amateurs, and here comes Hangman Page by himself. His friends are not there. You know, I feel like before the injury of one of the Bucks, they were potentially planning on the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Elite. Um, Personally, I would like to see it happen in blood and guts in the cage. Um, but you know, we'll see what happens. Um, if they give it enough time, if the injury heals in time, it could happen at the Wembley Arena at All In. I feel like that would be a great way to cap off the night. You have the Elite, four guys. If you do the Bucks and Kenny and Hangman, four guys that spent a lot of time overseas honing their craft, versus four guys that are called the Blackpool Combat Club. So who are they going to cheer for? You know, are they going to cheer for the guys that spent all the time in Japan doing what they were doing just next door, or are they going to cheer for the guys that got their namesake from William Regal? If Regal was still around, it would be no question, that the Blackpool Combat Club would be the favorite, and they may still be, but it's one of those wait and see things that we'll have to see how the crowd reacts, and if the match even happens, who knows yet. So Hangman comes out, gets abused, just like the enhancement guys, and Daniel Bryan pulls out a screwdriver and goes after him with a screwdriver to his face. This is very well done. The production value is very well done. The cameraman in the right spot at the right time, not giving away any secrets of tricks of the trade. Hangman showing them just a little bit of color. They don't focus in on it a whole lot, but a little bit of color from Hangman. And one of the things that I really enjoyed from this was, so you have Dr. Sampson coming to get into the ring, and Claudio runs and slides out of the ring and chest to chest big bodies him and is like, "Nah, you're not getting in there. You're going to let him bleed. Going to let him bleed." Like that. That's imagery. That should have happened this past weekend at a WWE pay-per-view event. Should have happened at WrestleMania. Let him bleed. Wrap it up quick and then get them out. But in the moment, you got to do it the right way. They did it the right way, and I appreciated it. So now it's time for the main event of AEW Dynamite tonight. Again, I've kind of ran through this recap pretty quick. I wanted to touch on the MJF stuff a little bit heavier than everybody else, and I wanted to touch on the Blackpool Combat Club a little bit heavy, but I really want to touch on this. The main event is FTR versus the Guns in a tag team title match versus loser leaves town, whatever you want to call it. It's not a career ending match, but it was, if we can't beat you, we will leave AEW stipulation. So current contract status versus titles, I guess might be the way to say it, because nobody knew what FTR was going to end up doing. We didn't know if they're going to stay or if they're going to go. Not even 100% sure that they're under contract at the moment. I'd really have to kind of dig into that whenever they sign their last contract. If it's not up, it's coming up to an end before long. But based on the outcome of the match, FTR is going to be in AEW for just a little bit longer. It was really cool seeing the Guns come out to Mini Men by 50 Cent, a little bit of a different edge. You know, FTR comes out to that old school style, almost like a MIDI tone style music coming to the ring. Very cool, very appropriate for their characters. Well, the Guns, they're uh, young, arrogant punk kids coming out to Mini Men by 50 Cent, which is perfect, perfect, perfect. Thank you, Tony Khan, for getting the rights to that song. I truly hope that it stays with them. Um, I feel like for their arrogance and their swagger and their style, their look, everything about them, that song is very fitting. Um, very good match. Couple opportunities that you almost thought FTR was going to lose, and then one opportunity where the ref was going to call a DQ, and Dash Wilder runs in there. He's like, no, 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 no. We're not going out like that. You're not going to let them manipulate this match. And the end of this match with the DQ, so we have to leave and they retain. It's not going to happen. Let us keep going. You know, we have to get these title belts. In that moment when he stopped it there, that was the decision maker for me. I knew what direction we were going to go. I was very happy in that moment. I'm like, okay, you know, they're staying. They're going to win. They're taking it all. Uh, Talking about FTR, you know, earlier I spoke of the Bash and Beckley 3. It's going to be at the Beckley Raleigh County Convention Center in June. Well, last year at the Bash and Beckley 2, we had FTR. The Bash and Beckley is the place to be, guys. If you're not familiar with it, you need to go look it up. Um, FTR faced Eddie Edwards and David Richards, the Wolves, in the first time ever. One of the best tag team matches I've ever seen, not just on an independent promotion, but period. One of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. It was fantastic, hard hitting, very well done. And a lot of times people think, well, you know, when big guys go to indie shows, they don't give everything that they give at a pay-per-view or on television. Well, I'm telling you, these four guys gave everything they had that night, and it was one for the record books. People come from all over the country to watch the Bash and Beckley. The last couple of years, it's steadily growing to be one of the bigger shows on the East Coast. We sell, I say we, they sell a very decent size arena for an independent show. You know, hopefully it'll continue to progress and turn into even more than what it is. So tickets are still available. Go get your tickets now. FTR wins. They are now two-time AEW tag team champions and staying with AEW for the foreseeable future. Hopefully it'll continue. Who knows what made that decision? It could have been a last minute Hail Mary of, hey, we're going to stay. We need to win tonight because we watched this past week and this past weekend, and we don't want to have no part of that. Or it could have been in the pipes for a while now for them to stay and just kind of work us all a little bit, which is fine. I love when professional wrestling can work me, because that means they're doing what they're supposed to do when they can work the cynical fans. Guys, that's all the time I got for you today. I am the only Derek Jones that matters. This is the House Kayfabe. We need you to like, subscribe, share to all your friends about us. We are growing exponentially every day, and we need your help to continue our climb to the top. See you next time.